Welcome back to Veterans Forum, a program by veterans, about veterans, for veterans and their families. I'm your co-host, Bob West, with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin. Our goal is to provide important information to you and your family about legislation, benefits, support, and activities by interviewing leaders in our community. Jerry, who do we have with us today?
Tonight, Bob, we're very honored to have Bob Wilcoxen with us, who really is kind of Maryland's veteran. He's the chairman of the Maryland Joint Veterans Committee, which is pretty much all of the congressionally chartered veterans organizations of the state. And he was recently the state commander of the Disabled American Veterans. He's a member of the Marine Corps League, the AMVETS, the VFW, practically everything that I can think of. And Bob, we're happy to report, is actually a native of Prince Georgia, though he's betrayed us and now lives in St. Mary's County. Bob was born in Hyattsville and left Bladensburg High School to join the United States Marine Corps in January 1956. And he served in the Marine Corps until 1975, when he achieved the most significant rate as a Marine. Most important rank in our organization is gunnery sergeant. The gunnies run everything, as Ray Chattery will tell you. Bob is a Vietnam combat veteran where he earned the Purple Heart, and after retiring in 1975, worked for the Department of Defense for many years, and has devoted his recent years to his many veterans activities. And Bob, by way of a veteran's family, he's married 34 years to his wife Ruth, and Ruth is the immediate past president of the Disabled American Veterans Auxiliary. So they share not only 4 children, Robert, Michael, Heidi, and Christine, they share a passionate interest in veterans activities. So we're really honored tonight to have Bob Wilcoxen with us.
Welcome, Chairman Wilcoxen. Tell us about the Joint Veterans Committee. Many of our veterans are familiar with their service organizations we have in town, but the Joint Veterans Committee is something a little different.
The Joint Veterans Committee brings together the various veterans organizations. Our main goal is to foster some of the legislative bills that go before the Congress and also up at Annapolis. The main problem, though, getting these bills through Congress that benefit veterans in any way that they can. And I got really involved with this, I guess, when I became a delegate to the Joint Veterans Committee, and George Creighton was a past chairman for the Joint Veterans Committee, and he had rallies with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin right there at Annapolis, and I saw the turnout they had at that time, supporting. But as the years are going by, we need more veterans to help support the bills that are in favor of the veterans. And without this additional support, there's less likely a chance of any of the veterans' bills that come before them to be passed.
So the committee is made up of veterans organizations within the state of Maryland.
These are chartered veteran organizations.
And which organizations primarily are members of the committee?
You get the Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Marine Corps League, the AMVETS, the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars. You got the Disabled American Veterans. You got the Catholic War Veterans. Make up the Joint Veterans Committee at the present time. Other chartered organizations are eligible to join this organization. Here again, help and support the veterans.
And where do you primarily meet and when?
We meet the third Wednesday of the month at the DAV Post Home, which is Chapter 7, right here in Bowie, Maryland. We meet at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Can any veteran come to the committee meetings?
At the present time, each one of the organizations have delegates, and up to 8 delegates are at the meeting at the present time. But as far as any veteran coming there, they could come as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
And we even have refreshments afterwards, which that always draws a veteran enthusiast.
And we're very fortunate because both Jerry and Ray have both served as in various office committees within the committee itself.
That's quite correct.
So legislation is really the primary focus of the committee.
That's correct also.
And the legislative year is going to start the second week?
January 11th.
And so we're getting prepped to get on board in Annapolis to get some of our bills passed.
Very true.
Can you tell us a little bit about the important bills we'd like to see moved along this year?
Well, this year, one of the important bills is the establishment of, they're looking at, let's say, the slot machine bills for the Western Shore, and particularly, you know, like here in Prince George County and some of the other counties. I mean, they have it already on the Eastern Shore. Why is it such a big problem of establishing it on the Western Shore? And that's one of the bills at the present time that we're looking at. We've had other bills in there due to the economic status of the states and everything else. I don't think will have much likelihood of passing, and that would be like an increase in the amount of tax deductions for retired military in the state of Maryland. One of the reasons that this was originally put forward was the fact that these retirees from Maryland and their children that are now at the ages where they're six-figure jobs here in the state of Maryland, they're starting to move out of the state of Maryland because of the taxes. And when they move out, they're taking these other family members with them. And the state's losing that revenue that could stay right here in the state of Maryland.
Jerry, you're pretty much up on the legislative process here. Do we have some sponsors of some of these bills?
We will have a number of them, but I'm not sure yet who's. My understanding is the bill allowing the Veterans Post to have, we can't use the word slot machines, they're instant bingo machines. Why I say that was when the legislature authorized slot machines a few years ago, it was in the state constitution where they'd be, and you'd have to have a referendum and a constitutional amendment. So we're having instant bingo machines, which are quite like the machines that are at the Rod and Reel Club in Chesapeake Beach. I know Geraldine Valentino Smith, the delegate from this district, she's indicated a willingness to sponsor it. But I think she's going to give way because she's a very senior, respected member to Jim Proctor. Geraldine came into the legislature kind of more experienced. She had worked as a legislative representative for health groups. She kind of knows how things work. And when you got an important bill, sometimes it does better if it's the principal sponsor is someone other than a freshman. That's just a little inside. So, and I spoke the other day, I spoke a couple of times this week with Mike Bush. He was here in Bowie this week at a breakfast. And then I met him at a Christmas party over in Davidson before. He said he'd promised me he'd give a real hard look to the subtraction modification bill for retired military pay. Again, Maryland is a balanced budget jurisdiction, so if you cut someone's taxes, you got to raise someone else's. And like George Creighton always gives the argument, which is correct, that this bill would bring, as Bob said a few minutes, a lot more money in. But unfortunately, that doesn't satisfy the legal requirements of a balanced budget. In other words, when you balance the budget, you got to have a very predictable revenue source. And you can't use to balance the budget with, yes, it will bring a lot more money in. So, so the state's fiscal, unless it improves, that, and it may, and we do have some good things. I mean, Maryland's unemployment is way under the national median. We're in moderate, by state standards, we're in moderate, in moderate status. But you understand the bar is very low, and we have states that are hovering on the edge of bankruptcy. I mean, so, anyway, there'll be more on that before, and then there'll be the usual other bills that don't cost any money. Putting a flag here and a monument there and things like that. A couple of years ago, the late John Arnick said, this is also a Marine, but he was a majority leader of the House. He said, this year there's no money. Flag waving bills go through, money bills have problems. And I think that's.
Not long ago, we all were down in Prince George's County with our delegates who had a meeting, and there was some testimony there, Ray, on this very legislation that we were talking about. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that went? And
okay, yeah, well, I'll tell you. Geraldine Valentino Smith, Delegate Smith, she is really becoming a veterans advocate. Her niece is serving active duty military right now on a ship, and she's really taken up the cause. She's help sponsoring the local bill, because there's going to be a state referendum bill that Senator Peters talked about in our last program about the slot machines, and she's doing a local bill, which would be the instant bingo. The instant bingo machines, according to the facts, is that they even have a bigger payout than the regular slot machines. And it's the same thing. It's just like saying Kleenex and Scotties. You know, it's pretty much the same result, only they're just called by a different name. And we really don't care. We need the machines in our post homes and chapter homes, and with the American Legion and VFW, DAV. And it also would go to these, I think, some of the other nonprofits, like on Eastern Shore, where get the Prince George's delegation behind this, because a lot of them now, they're not veterans. They don't understand our dilemma, because we have closed membership, and anybody off of the can't just walk in off of the street, right, and just walk in and play the machines, and we will not let that happen. But this will bring more of our members out to support the chapter and the post homes, because it's a draw. If you go to Delaware Park or to Midway or Dover Downs or up to Charlestown, I would say that 50% of the cars on those lots are Maryland vehicles. Well, let's keep the money in Maryland. In fact, our veterans, we run 2 trips a year up to Delaware Park as a fundraiser. We wouldn't have to do that anymore.
We'd like to run them to Chapter 7.
Right. We just have it.
You know, besides that, they put the casino in Maryland over on the Eastern Shore, and that's what I'm saying before.
Right.
You know, all right for the Eastern Shore. What about the rest of the state?
Right.
I mean, we got
Well, actually, have
counties up
the one
north.
that's open in Perryville. That's open now.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the other one that's just open too.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that's
And
at Ocean Downs.
north end of the state.
And then
Northeast.
Arundel Mills will be opening very soon.
Yeah, I saw
That'll be really
just saw
big.
construction on that one in
That'll
Arundel
be really
Mills.
big.
One of the interesting things about the legislature is that I was elected in 1974, and then everybody my age was a veteran. Like in this district, Senator Conroy, who was a Silver Star, one-armed, war hero in Korea, was our senator, and then Leo Green and Dave Ross were in the Army, and I was in the Marines. Now it's younger legislatures. It's rare, There are some, but it's rare. So we do a lot of explaining. We're kind of lucky. There's an odd sort of thing going on in Annapolis. Some of the people who really have been on our side, who understand the legislation really well and push it hard, are women who weren't veterans. Geraldine in our district, Mary Delaney James in Harford County, we named her Legislator of the Year with both the Marine Corps League and the DAV, and Marianne Love from Anne Arundel County, who was chairman of the Veterans Caucus. I mean, they've immersed themselves in veterans legislation, and they actually know the ins and outs. So it's
Senator Kazmaier?
Senator Kazmaier, he's a man.
No, I mean his wife. I thought she was. No, maybe I'm getting mixed up.
I think you got mixed up with
Well, we'll take any support we can muster as far as legislation is concerned.
Bob mentioned something earlier, and I want to go ahead because of our audience. We have the 6 chartered members of organizations. And we changed our bylaws as the American Legion, for some odd reason, several years ago dropped out. And one of their main reasons was they said that if they didn't have a full voice, they weren't allowed to be because of the national organization. Well, we changed our bylaws. If there's a legislative bill, and Jerry's our legislative head that goes down to Annapolis, if one of the organizations do not want to back the bill, then it's not backed by the Joint Veterans Committee at all.
Takes the full amount of all the
It takes
present organization have to vote 100% in order to back a bill at Annapolis.
And then one other thing is there's several, like the Korean War veterans, they are now congressionally chartered. The only problem, they don't have a department. So according to our bylaws, if they don't have a department, in other words, a state office or a state commander, there's no way they can be a member until that happens.
Now, I believe that we also get information from the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs
Yes.
by having someone there.
Yeah.
And kind of help facilitate some of the issues that veterans have with the state.
Secretary Child's office and his Deputy Secretary Gregory Jones is also up there, and both of them we've been in contact with throughout the year. And on a lot of other committees that I visit and attend and participate in, I see either Secretary Child or Deputy Secretary Jones, and we conversed at that time on the same type of things that we're talking about here and now. And just today, I got an email from one of the committees that I sit in on also. Jerry mentioned earlier about me being in the southern part of Maryland here. Well, Charles, St. Mary's, and Calvert County, they just got the word that the approval of a CBOC, a community-based outpatient clinic for veterans, has been approved, and the money has been allotted for a new one at Charlotte Hall. And this is something that we've been fighting hard for as a committee. But these things take numbers of people who are for veterans, the veterans themselves have to participate. They have to contact constantly their senators, their representatives, the delegates. This is the most important thing. When these issues come up, these bills come up in regards to veterans. And the other thing is, when you participate in numbers, as we've seen in the past, especially in Annapolis or even in D.C., in front of the Joint Armed Forces Service Committees, for example, other veterans bills are coming up, legislative-wise. They need support also. And then generally right around February, diverse organizations throughout the United States are right there in D.C. The national officers are there, and they're presenting these bills and the necessity things for veterans to these gentlemen at that time, and they need support.
Yeah, and a lot of it is numbers.
Yes, sir.
You have to get the people out when this legislation is coming forward, so that the legislators know that there's a lot of people behind this legislation.
Very
and
true.
we do our best to try to get the word out.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of the missions of the commission, is to let these various veteran service organizations know what's going on and help them, beat the drum and get the folks out.
Yes, sir.
Now, one thing that Jerry might be able to shed more light on is that we're really actively trying to get a veterans court. Of course, that has to be a study first, right, Jerry?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be that. That's the way it will go. It's a bill. They have one. They started one in Erie County, New York, which is Buffalo. They have a veterans court, and it's been very successful. It's one of those bills that you're going to have to convince the Maryland judiciary that it's a good idea. That Chief Judge Bell of the Court of Appeals and the judicial hierarchy, because if you don't, it's not the way Annapolis works. It isn't going anywhere. So they'd have to have a study and perhaps to deal with the special problems that veterans have in our courts.
And speaking about needs, Charlotte Hall now is over 90% occupied.
That's correct.
And we hear all the time that veterans would like to have something a little bit more convenient to them. Well, they need to get active and start pushing for the need of another facility closer to them, which appears to be someplace west of Baltimore. As far as geography
we're in
is
the
concerned.
Baltimore area.
Yeah,
well, we talked about this at our last program when Senator Peters was here. Right now, there's property at Fort Howard, and there's property at Fort Detrick.
Right.
Fort Howard would be more centrally located to Baltimore. Fort Detrick's not that far out, but we have to be careful that we don't run into the same dilemma as we did with Charlotte Hall. There's no resident in Charlotte Hall from west of Baltimore. No one from Western Maryland it's too far.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do something out in the Hagerstown or the Cumberland area, we're going to run into the same problem that we do here. And the numbers for veterans aren't there. Like Prince George's County has the largest group of veterans in the state of Maryland. We have close to 80,000 veterans in Maryland, I mean in the state right now, which is we're probably close to 500,000, and 40,000 are women veterans now.
Right.
So as I say, it's a numbers game. So,
Yeah. So basically, we need it where the need is, which is closer to the Baltimore area where the focus should be.
yeah.
And yeah, the other thing is, I know we all go to various organization meetings, but the other thing too is outreach programs to try to let other veterans know what's going on, and this is just one of the outlets that we have. And you're part of the DAV, and I know the DAV has various outreach programs.
Yeah. There's all the organizations have various outreach programs to be involved in, and it's got to be kind of careful which way you go on those, because with limited resources and everything else. But we also participate and try to foster other programs along that line. Mental health, for example, in the rural areas. What are we going to do in something like that? They're working on that at the present time through all these committees. You got commissions, you got committees throughout the state of Maryland, and they're all working it. What they got to do is to try to draw them all together, and like we do here at the JVC, Joint Veterans Committee, we pick the bills out, like we stated earlier, get 100% support behind it and go with it.
I think the other thing too is, we talked a little bit about it, and you said you're the local service officer for
I'm one of them
for the post, is the fact that as veterans, you need to get registered into the VA system. One way or the other, you need to get registered. Even if you think you're fine, you should be registered. And one of the things that you do is help people find out about their benefits and get them moving.
Yes, it's with the DAV as a service officer, this is a free service that we provide to the veterans out there. There's no charge for the service that we have as a service officer. And it's self-rewarding from the point that any veteran that we can help get their compensation or disability taken care of or straightened out. And one of our goals now as service officers in all the organizations is to contact the younger veterans that are getting out of the service at the present time. First of all, the Gulf War veterans, you talk to them, you want to find out, are they on the VA Gulf War register? I mean, the VA came out with registers going all the way back to the 50s that a lot of the veterans don't even know about. So we try to get them as soon as possible, get them on those registers so they know what's coming up. Other things can happen to the veterans, even of our age. The diseases and stuff that can be developed over a period of time associated with our military service. This can come out. Let's face it, look how many years it was for the Vietnam veterans before they came out with the diseases associated with some of the herbicide infections over there.
Yeah, the Agent Orange legislation is pretty important.
That's one thing I wanted to touch on is I didn't realize that it doesn't make any difference where you were in Vietnam. You come under the Agent Orange. So any of the audience who are Vietnam era veterans that served in country that has their ribbon, go get registered with the VA and get registered with the Agent Orange, because down the line, if something happens, you'll be covered. They've added 3 or 4 different
3 of them just recently, in the last couple of years.
They added 3 different diagnoses that if you have that and you were in country, they would put this into Agent Orange. It's very important.
That's why the Marine Corps is doing the same thing, setting up a register of people who served at Camp Lejeune from the middle 50s.
Right.
And that the water supply, and it's produced for example, an unusual number of male breast cancer, which is very unusual on a gender basis. Marines who served at Camp Lejeune, and they had bad water, and they had shells under the water and all kinds of chemicals, and it's I think I got out of Camp Lejeune just in time.
Yeah, I got a letter from the headquarters Marine Corps not too long ago, because I was serving at Camp Lejeune during that period of time that Jerry was just discussing, and they're still active on that, and I am now on the register.
Well, the other thing too is, you were saying boots on the ground. Even if you transited through Vietnam and you have orders,
Yeah.
you may still be eligible for the Agent Orange registry. So,
And there's some Navy that's
You know,
eligible
the
too.
thing with the brown water Navy, you know, who are in the waters, they're already in. And now we're so the blue water Navy. That's people who are on ships that were affected by herbicides. So it's an ongoing work in progress. And
Yeah, they have a list of the ships, what by the ship's log, where they were at and doing what time frame and period, and that's what's established whether they rated or not in the period of time that the ship was there, and that would cover them.
yes, so it's really important for you not only to have your records available, but again, you need to be registered, you need to get involved, and stop by one of the veterans organizations and find out about your benefits. And we're really well aware that sometimes it's family members that kind of push us in the direction that we need to go. For most of our cases, it was our wives to get us doing things, but for you know, other people, now that we have so many women's veterans, you know, it could be their husbands too.
One thing I'd like to bring up, Bob, real fast, is very soon all the veterans in the Bowie area will be receiving a letter from the Disabled American Veterans to let them know that our van, the service officer van, will be down at the DAB parking lot. And this is all free. Come on down, bring some records, and we will talk to you, get you registered, or whatever we can do to help you service-wise. So I'll be watching for that letter and the date.
Well, it's kind of hard to believe, but our 30 minutes are up. I want to thank you for watching Veterans Forum. We hope you've enjoyed the program and learned something of information useful to you. But we need you to get involved in our veterans organizations. We want to say a special thank you to our now set director, Ellen Rauch, for her contribution to making this show a success. And also, as always, Jim Travlin as our director and cameraman. And thank you again for watching Veterans Forum.